June 23, 1985 began like any other Sunday morning for 14-year-old Jennifer Lee Day. She lived in North Dallas and worked a part-time weekend job to help her family. Just after 5:30 a.m., she walked into Preston Road Donuts, unlocked the door, and flipped on the lights. Jennifer brewed coffee and restocked pastries, preparing for another busy morning. By 6:20 a.m., she served her last customer, smiling and ringing up their order like any teenager at work. 15 minutes later, at 6:35 a.m., a man walked into the shop and found it completely empty. Jennifer was gone. Her purse, jewelry, and apron were still on the counter. The cash register was untouched. Nothing appeared disturbed. No sign of struggle, no robbery, no clue. Her family was notified immediately. Her older brother Jeff remembers the disbelief and fear he felt when he saw police at the shop. Investigators suspected abduction. Someone had taken her in broad daylight without anyone noticing. A witness across the street said he saw a large, dark-colored car pull up around 6:32 a.m. He described a man and a woman getting into the vehicle before it sped away. Was that Jennifer being taken? Or was it just a coincidence? The question haunted detectives for decades. The community rallied. Flyers went up, tips poured in. Rewards climbed into the tens of thousands of dollars. But every lead faded. 3 days later, on June 26, 1985, construction workers in Plano uncovered a horrifying sight. About 11 miles from the donut shop, in a grassy field, lay Jennifer's naked, bloodied body. She had been stabbed multiple times in the neck. There was evidence of blunt force trauma. Detectives couldn't determine whether she had been killed at the shop and moved, or killed elsewhere and left there. The city was shaken. A young life had been taken in a brutal and senseless way. Detectives chased every possible lead. Suspicious vehicles, possible sightings, interviews with dozens of people who knew or saw Jennifer that morning. Some theories suggested a pattern, comparing her case to other young women abducted from workplaces at dawn. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. No arrests, no confessions, no justice. Jennifer's mother, Patsy Day, channeled her grief into advocacy, helping other families navigating violent loss. Decades passed. The case remained one of North Texas's most haunting mysteries, a brutal abduction happening in a 15-minute window, leaving more questions than answers. In recent years, renewed efforts emerged. Her brother contacted police. A cold case detective began re-examining the evidence. Modern DNA technology and long-buried tips could finally expose the truth. Still, no killer has been publicly identified or charged. Jennifer Day's murder remains unsolved, a chilling reminder that evil sometimes slips through the cracks, and that justice can take decades, if it ever comes at all. Number 2. MI6 agent goes completely missing. August 2010 began quietly for 31-year-old Gareth Wynne Williams. To most people, he appeared unremarkable. Shy, soft-spoken, cycling through London and keeping largely to himself. But Gareth lived a double life. He was a gifted mathematician recruited into Britain's intelligence world, where secrets were routine and silence was expected. After university, Gareth was selected to work for GCHQ, the UK's signals intelligence agency responsible for intercepting communications and breaking encrypted codes. His talent for complex mathematics and cryptography quickly set him apart. He wasn't just good at his job, he was exceptional. Because of that skill, Gareth was later seconded to MI6, Britain's Foreign Intelligence Service. MI6 officers do not talk about their work. Assignments are classified, movements are concealed, and details are often hidden even from colleagues. Gareth's exact role has never been fully revealed. What is known is that Gareth worked on highly sensitive intelligence involving encrypted communications and foreign threats. He had access to information few people on Earth ever see. He knew things that could not be spoken about. And then, in August 2010, he stopped showing up for work. At first, his absence didn't cause panic. In intelligence work, people disappear without explanation. But days passed. Emails went unanswered. Phone calls were ignored. Still, MI6 waited. More than a week went by before police were finally asked to check on him. On August 23rd, officers entered Gareth's flat in Pimlico, central London. There were no signs of forced entry, no mess, no struggle. But the flat was unnaturally hot. The heating had been left on full blast. In the ensuite bathroom, police noticed a large red North Face sports bag sitting inside the bathtub. It was zipped shut and padlocked. When officers forced it open, they found Gareth's naked body inside, folded tightly into the fetal position. He had been dead for several days. The key to the padlock was found inside the bag beneath his body. Immediately, the case defied logic. There were no stab wounds, no gunshot wounds, and no defensive injuries. Toxicology tests found no drugs, no alcohol, and no poison in his system. Yet the intense heat in the flat had accelerated decomposition, potentially destroying crucial forensic evidence. Investigators could not determine a clear cause of death. Nearby, Gareth's mobile phone and multiple SIM cards were found laid out neatly on a table. To some, it looked staged. To others, deliberate. The media seized on the details. A codebreaker, MI6, a locked bag. The case was quickly labeled "The Spy in the Bag." In 2012, a coroner's inquest examined the evidence. Experts testified about the physical difficulty of locking oneself inside that specific bag. The coroner concluded Gareth's death was unnatural and likely involved another person placing him inside. Fragments of unidentified DNA were found on the bag, but no suspect was named. Despite the coroner's conclusion, police later stated they could not definitively prove third-party involvement. They suggested it was possible Gareth entered the bag himself and died accidentally. That explanation raised disturbing questions. Why would an MI6 intelligence officer take such a risk? Why did MI6 delay reporting him missing? And why were large parts of his work withheld from the inquest on national security grounds? Over the years, theories multiplied. Some believe Gareth was targeted by a foreign intelligence service. Others suspect an internal cover-up. Another theory suggests a tragic personal experiment gone wrong. None fully explain the locked padlock or the secrecy surrounding the case. More than a decade later, Gareth Williams's death remains unsolved. No one has been charged. No definitive cause has been confirmed. A man who lived in secrecy died surrounded by it. And the truth of what happened inside that flat may never be known. June 7, 1992 was supposed to be a celebration. 18-year-old Stacy McCall had just graduated high school in Springfield, Missouri, and planned to spend the night with her best friend, Susie Streeter. Susie lived with her mother, 47-year-old Cheryl Levitt. After graduation parties ended, the girls decided to stay at Susie's house instead of a crowded sleepover they'd planned earlier. It was a simple decision, one that should have meant nothing. But sometime after 2 a.m., all three women vanished from that house without a trace. The next morning, friends arrived to check on them. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The house was quiet, the lights were off. There were no signs of forced entry. Inside, everything looked normal. Susie's purse was still there. Stacy's clothes were laid out. Cheryl's cigarettes, lighter, and keys were untouched. Even the family dog was calmly waiting inside. But the women were gone, all three of them together, without a struggle. Police were called, but crucial mistakes were made early. Friends had already cleaned the house, wiping away fingerprints and disturbing potential evidence before investigators fully understood what they were dealing with. There were no witnesses, no credible sightings, no ransom calls, and no confirmed activity on their bank accounts or phones after that night. The only strange detail was a broken porch light globe found outside the house. It had been carefully swept into a pile. No one could explain why. Investigators explored every possibility. Abduction, targeted attack, someone the women knew, someone they didn't. Nothing ever solidified into a suspect strong enough to charge. Over the years, rumors spread about possible burial sites, including a theory that the women were buried beneath a parking garage. Excavations found nothing. What makes the case so disturbing is what didn't happen. No blood, no screams, no evidence of panic. It was as if the women stood up and walked out of their lives voluntarily. But no one believes that's what happened. 3 women don't vanish together without leaving something behind, especially not without money, cars, or personal belongings. Decades later, no bodies have been found. No arrests have been made. The house still stands, the questions remain. One early person of interest was Dustin Rekla, Susie Streeter's former boyfriend. Months before the disappearance, he broke into a Springfield mausoleum and stole gold fillings from a skull. Susie had given police a statement about the crime and was rumored to be a possible witness. Rekla and his accomplices were reportedly together and in the area the night the women vanished. Another suspect is Larry Dwayne Hall, a suspected serial killer who traveled the Midwest for Civil War reenactments. A battlefield sat minutes from the home, and reenactments occurred the day before the disappearance nearby. Hall later confessed to multiple murders in prison, describing details only the killer could know. In 1997, convicted kidnapper Robert Craig Cox claimed the women were murdered and buried, saying their bodies would never be found. Cox lived in Springfield at the time. His alibi later collapsed when his girlfriend admitted she had lied for him. The disappearance of the Springfield Three is considered one of the most haunting unsolved cases in American history. Proof that sometimes people don't just disappear. They are erased. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more chilling content.